Solar power has been commercially available for over 40 years, and it's come a long way in that time. The efficiency has increased infinitely, and the price has dropped drastically too. The cost for PV solar has dropped by 90% in the last decade alone, and incentives like the federal investment tax credit, which covers 30% of a residential installation, have helped decrease financial barriers even further. And yet today, a full rooftop installation in the United States still costs an average of $21,800, a cost that's still unattainable for the vast majority of homeowners. But the panels themselves only make up a fraction of that number. Once you factor in a licensed solar contractor, a structural engineer, a city permit, and an interconnection agreement with the local utility, the price of the installation can easily double. And even then, that is only if you own the property. If you rent, you almost certainly lack either the permission or the financial incentive to install a system you will leave behind. All of these reasons and more are why only about 7% of American homes are equipped with solar panels, leaving 93% of all households fully reliant on the ever-increasing prices set by utility corporations, which are increasingly recording record-breaking profits. But new technology is quickly stripping away the barriers that have held residential solar and empowering those who previously thought it unattainable. Right now, for just a few $100, you can purchase a solar array 80% cheaper than the traditional one. There is no technical knowledge or specialized contractors needed, as this system simply plugs straight into any standard wall socket and can be hung on any balcony, garden fence, or backyard frame. This is plug-in solar, and it is the most significant development in residential energy in years. In this video, we will look at how it actually works, the financial benefits these systems deliver in real American homes, and how you can use one to move closer to energy independence. The origin of plug-in solar in its current form began in Germany in the late 1970s, during the height of the global oil crises. The reason for that is because for a long time, German households have paid some of the highest electricity prices in the developed world. And in 2025, the average German residential rate was just under 40 cents per kilowatt hour, around 2.5 times the American average of 17 cents. After the European energy price shock of 2022, German energy prices rose more than 40% in 2 years. Faced with skyrocketing energy costs, hundreds of thousands of ordinary citizens began buying inexpensive, pre-packaged solar kits from hardware stores, hanging them from their apartment balconies, and plugging them straight into their outdoor outlets. This became known as the Balkonkraftwerk, or balcony power plant movement. It became such an unstoppable cultural phenomenon that the German government was forced to completely rewrite their national energy policies, legally protecting a tenant's right to plug solar panels directly into their apartment walls. The German government formalized the category under a national policy called Solar Packet, classifying the systems as consumer appliances, legally no different from plugging in a refrigerator or a kettle, and protecting a tenant's right to install one on an apartment balcony. Thanks to this legislation, their popularity exploded. By the start of 2025, over 1.15 million of these systems were operating across the country. To understand the significance plug-in solar can have on your home, you first need to understand how it works, and more importantly, what makes this different from a traditional solar array. The plug-in solar array shares many commonalities as a traditional system, but with a handful of key differences. Of course, there's the PV panel itself, which works as it always has. Photons from the sun strike a silicon wafer, knocking electrons loose between a positively and negatively doped layer of the cell, producing a flow of direct current electricity. Like a traditional system, this output then needs to be converted into something a household can actually use. And this is where the magic happens. Modern technology has allowed for the development of specialized micro-inverters that bolt directly to the back of the panel and perform two simultaneous jobs. The first is converting the variable direct current from the panel into alternating current at exactly 60 Hz, the frequency of the American electrical grid, making it compatible with standard household wiring. The second is holding its output voltage 1 or 2 volts above the local grid voltage of 120 volts, which is the entire mechanism that makes plug-in solar possible. Electrical current flows from higher pressure to lower pressure, By sitting just above grid pressure, the micro-inverter pushes its electricity into the household wiring first, essentially acting as a fast-track pass. Any appliance running on the same circuit consumes that solar electricity before drawing a single watt from the utility. If your refrigerator is consuming 200 watts and the panels are generating 200 watts, the meter on the side of your house does not move. This is exactly the design intent behind these systems, covering the baseload of your day-to-day energy usage. You see, even when a house appears completely empty, it is constantly drawing between 200 and 400 watts in the background to keep the refrigerator compressor cycling, the wireless router running, and the standby loads on televisions and game consoles powered. There is no large battery bank here to run a fully off-grid system, and thus no expensive installation fees, just a baseline matching system designed to offset your home's standing load and reduce your dependency on overpriced electricity sold by utility companies. Now, if you've heard about plug-in solar before, then the chances are you're aware of some of the concerns around it. The main one, which is most cited by regulatory bodies, is grid islanding. The concern here is that if the utility loses power during a storm and a residential solar system continues to feed electricity back through its outlet, a utility worker repairing the line could be electrocuted. But this risk is easily mitigated by anti-islanding protection built into every certified microinverter. The inverter requires the utility's reference signal to operate. The moment that signal disappears, the inverter shuts down its output in under 20 milliseconds. The other main concern that drove decades of regulatory resistance is branch circuit overcurrent. A standard 15-amp household circuit is safely designed to carry 15 amps. But if the utility is supplying 15 amps and a microinverter is injecting another 5 amps from the far end of the circuit, the wiring downstream could carry 20 amps without tripping the breaker in the panel, because the breaker only measures current flowing from the utility side. But again, this is a concern that has easily been solved through the regulation of the hardware. European regulators solved this by capping plug-in systems at 800 watts of output, which corresponds to roughly 3.5 amps. That additional load sits within the safety tolerance of standard household copper wiring. These are the two most commonly cited arguments against plug-in solar, both of which can be easily mitigated with the right regulation. And when you look at the benefit that can have on everyday households, it's clear there's a huge benefit to using them. In Oakland, California, a pilot program called Bright Saver distributed plug-in systems to renters and retirees and tracked the savings. Participants reported real-world bill reductions of $25 to $30 per month, sustained over the duration of the trial. Over a year, that translates to $300 to $360 off the electric bill, equating to somewhere in the region of a 2-year payback period. Plenty of other data offer similar conclusions, too. BrightSaver's own modeling for a 4-panel kit estimates roughly $500 per year for a typical 4-person household, and one early adopter family in California saw their purchased utility energy drop by 22% within the first week of operation. A plug-in system will not produce a fully off-grid home, but it offers an advantage that a traditional rooftop array cannot. If a large rooftop system generates more power than the home needs, the surplus has to be sold back to the grid. The pricing structure for that sale is heavily skewed against the homeowner. Under California's current net billing tariff, a utility sells electricity to that homeowner at roughly 40 cents per kilowatt hour and credits exported solar power back at 5 to 10 cents. The homeowner is effectively giving the utility cheap electricity that the utility then resells to a neighbor at 4 to 8 times the price. A plug-in system never generates surplus. Every kilowatt hour it produces displaces a kilowatt hour the household would otherwise have purchased at full retail. So the prospect of plug-in solar is certainly exciting, but the harder questions are whether you can legally install one where you live. In the United States, the technology lagged behind Germany for one structural reason. Without a formal federal safety standard, every state regulator had to make an independent call on whether to allow a consumer device to backfeed electricity into household wiring through a standard outlet. Most states defaulted to the easy answer of prohibition, although some have taken steps to actively incorporate the technology into statewide legislation. In March of 2025, Utah was the first to create a dedicated legal category for portable solar generation devices, up to 1,200 watts, exempt them from utility interconnection agreements, and bar homeowners associations from prohibiting them. Then, in January 2026, UL Solutions formally launched UL 3700, the first dedicated American safety and certification standard for fully assembled plug-in solar systems, closing the regulatory gap that utilities had used to keep these systems out of compliance. After that, multiple other states also moved to become more inclusive of plug-in solar. Maine signed its plug-in solar law in April of 2026, capped at 1,200 watts and taking effect in July. Virginia signed shortly after, also at 1,200 watts and taking effect on the 1st of January 2027. Colorado signed a bill setting the highest cap in the country at 1,920 watts. Then, 5 days later, on the 12th of May, Maryland Governor Wes Moore signed House Bill 1532, the Utility Relief Act. At the time of recording, 5 states have passed dedicated plug-in solar legislation: Utah, Maine, Virginia, Colorado, and Maryland. California's Senate Bill 868, the Plug Into the Sun Act, is moving through the legislature with similar provisions. Every state that has not yet acted sits in regulatory ambiguity. The hardware itself is legal to own and sell, particularly any kit certified to UL 3700. What is missing is statewide protection from utility interconnection requirements, from HOA aesthetic covenants, and from landlord objections. Plugging panels directly into a wall outlet in those states without a formal interconnection agreement may violate local utility or electrical codes, which can lead to both metering issues as well as leaving you open to problems with the homeowners association. But if you want to explore whether plug-in solar fits your home, several options are leading the American market right now. Your first option is the Solix SolarBank 2, which ships with a built-in lithium iron phosphate battery rated at 1.6 kilowatt-hours and expandable through stackable modules, a current transformer clamp, and a 10-year inverter warranty. Full kits run $1,200 to $1,600. But the panels are heavy, around 48 pounds each, which complicates rail mounting on lighter balcony structures. Then you have the EcoFlow Stream system, which uses a detachable modular battery that can be removed and used as a portable power station for camping or emergency backup. Full kits run $1,200 to $1,500, although the inverter warranty is shorter at just 5 years. Or there's the Zendur Hyper 2000, which is the most flexible configuration of the three. It supports up to 1,800 watts of solar input across 4 maximum PowerPoint tracking channels, integrates with the open-source Home Assistant platform for local monitoring, and includes time-of-use tariff optimization. These kits run between $1,300 to $1,800 with solar panels sourced separately. Setup on any of these systems is functionally identical. Panels mount to a south-facing or southwest-facing balcony railing, ground frame, or fence using wind-rated structural brackets. Standard MC4 cables connect the panels to the inverter or battery hub. The outdoor-rated AC cord plugs into a grounded exterior outlet protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter. The system synchronizes with the household grid frequency within approximately 5 minutes and begins generating. Before purchasing, 3 things should be verified. The kit must carry UL 3700 certification, not the older UL 1741 rating, which applies to commercial grid-tied inverters rather than consumer plug-in systems. The current legislation in the buyer's state should be confirmed because the regulatory landscape is moving quickly. And for renters, the lease should be reviewed and the landlord consulted in advance, ideally with the relevant state law in hand if the rental is located in Utah or Colorado. Plug-in solar will not replace a household's entire electric bill. It will not run central air through a Texas August, nor will it charge an electric vehicle overnight. What it will do, on the proven evidence of multi-state pilot programs and over 1 million working installations in Germany, is take $25 to $30 per month off your bill for the next 25 years. With no contractor visit and no signature from a utility executive, bringing you one step closer to energy independence and less reliant on overpriced corporations. If you enjoyed this video, then I think you might enjoy this recent video we created on the most efficient home turbine ever created. That video is up next.